Good morning, everyone. So, thank you for joining the session. Let's start our session. So, this is AWS. We are now discussing about AWS Cloud, and this is day 3. Okay, day 3 session. So, in the previous two sessions, day 1 and day 2, in the day 1 session, we have seen the introduction part. What is AWS and what are the cloud providers available? What actually the cloud provider provides? All those things we have seen in the introduction session. Later, in the day 2 session, we have seen how we are going to create EC2 instances, and there are a few things that we understood, like what are the other things, like how can we start the instance, stop the instance, terminate the instance, all those things. See here, I'm sharing my screen, and if you're able to see my screen here, one instance is running. Okay, so yesterday we understood, like suppose if I want to stop this instance, I'll select this instance, I'll go to the actions, I'll go to this instance state, I'll stop the instance. As I told you, stopping the instance is nothing but shutting down. I'm just stopping the instance, not terminating. So if I want to start again, I can go and I can start the instance again. And this gives a different meaning. Rebooting the instance is nothing but restarting the instance. If you want to restart the instance, you can restart. And we also understood what are the status checks. We have two status checks here. So whenever you launch an instance, you have to observe that these two status checks has been passed or not. If these are not passed, we need to identify what is the issue. So maybe here you can see, sometimes you can see like 0 by 1 or 1 by 0 by 1 or 0 by 2 or 1 by 2. So I told you, right? Sorry. What are the different types of statistics you can see? Either you can see the status check as 1 by 2 or 0 by 2. If it is 0 by 2, we need to understand that there is an issue with the hardware. See, if the hardware itself is failed, how can the operating system will be loaded? It is not possible. If the hardware itself is failed, operating system will not be loaded. You know, right? How actually we install an operating system on a machine. Usually we will be having a hardware. On top of the hardware, we will be having OS. So if the OS is failed, we can reboot the instance. You can see here how to troubleshoot for the status check 1 by 2. You can reboot the instance. Once you reboot, OS will be reloaded. And one more status check is 0 by 2. If it shows 0 by 2, stop the instance and we can start the instance, so that whenever we stop and start, the EC2 machine will be migrated to the different hardware. So there will be different hardware racks. So suppose if there is any issue on one hardware rack, definitely when we stop and start it, that machine will be migrated to some other different rack, so that our issue will be resolved. So these are the two statistics that we have understood yesterday itself. And we know how to protect the instance from the accidental termination. So we have seen that option also. How can we protect the instance from the accidental termination? To select the instance, you need to go to the actions, and here you will find instance settings, and you can see some option here like change termination production. If you simply click on, you need to enable this option. See why we need to enable this option? Because if you are creating the resources in the cloud, it is our responsibility to protect those resources from the others. We should not provide access to everyone. We need to provide access to only few people who are really working on the particular resources. Otherwise, we should not provide access. So there should be a restricted access to each and everyone. And we should give the access only on the items, only on the services they are working. So how to give access? How can we provide access to all of the resources? All those things we will discuss. But here, since we are discussing about this particular EC2 service, so what I'm saying is, like, here we need to enable accidental termination. So if some new user is provided with the access, if some new user is provided with access, he might select the instance, he might go to the actions, and he might choose this. He might choose this option called terminate the instance. Once he terminate the instance, we cannot get back the instance. That's the reason why we should enable the accidental protection. Okay. Once we enable the accidental protection, even if someone tries to delete that instance, terminate the instance accidentally, so that will not be terminated. That will not be deleted. So those things we understood yesterday, and now let's go and understand about this thing called scale up and scale out. So let's understand. So this is a very simple topic. Don't look at the terminology wise. So let me explain you what is this scale up and scale out, or otherwise how we are going to increase the capacity of the machine. So in this particular section, scale up or scale out, we are going to understand how we are going to increase the capacity of the machines. Okay, let me take an example. I'll give you an example to understand what is this scale up or scale out. So now we have an instance running. Okay, we have one instance running. We have launched the instance. While launching the instance, I selected the instance type as t2.micro. Can you see here? We have selected the instance type as t2.nano. Sorry, it is t2.nano. So since I have selected t2.nano, is it possible? Assume that it is a t2.micro. Okay, we have launched a machine called t2.micro. Once after launching a t2.micro instance type, is it possible to increase the capacity of the machine? Or is it possible to decrease the capacity of the machine? Capacity in the sense, is it possible to change the instance type after launching the instance I'm talking about? Once after launching the instance, is it possible to change the instance type or not? Okay, let's understand that one. So you see here, this is an instance running. I'm going here to this particular instance, I'm selecting this instance. And here we have an actions drop down. Go to the actions drop down. You will see some option like instance settings. And here you will also see an option called change instance type, but this option is not available. Can you see? Change instance type, but this is not highlighted. Change instance type is not highlighted like some other options like stop protection, shutdown behavior, like that. And whenever I place mouse on that particular one, it is showing this action is available when the instance is stopped. When the instance is stopped and is not enabled for hibernation. So let's understand what is hibernation later. But what we need to understand here is this particular option will be enabled only when you stop the instance. What we are going to do is I'm going to change the instance type. Now you understood what is the instance type. We have different instance types like t2.nano, t2.micro, t2.medium, t2.large. Like that, while launching the instance, we have different kinds of instance types. And I have supposedly launched an instance with an instance type called t2.nano. And now, after launching the instance, I felt that t2.nano is not at all sufficient for my requirement. So t2.nano is not at all sufficient for my requirement. Now, is it possible to change the instance type? The answer is yes. We can change the instance type. How we are going to change that? So first you need to stop the instance. Okay. So if the machine is running, we cannot change this instance type. So for that purpose, what you need to do is you need to stop the instance. Where we can stop the instance? First, you need to select the instance, go to the instance state drop down here, and you have an option here called stop the instance. I already told you stopping the instance is having a different meaning. We are just shutting down the machine. That's it. We are not deleting it. We are stopping the machine. So once the machine is stopped, you see here, you can see the status. Once after applying stop the instance, here you can see the status like the machine is getting stopped. You need to wait for a few seconds to apply that action. After a few seconds, you will clearly see the status, whether the machine came to the stopped state or not. And once the machine came to the stopped state, or once the machine is in the stopped state, then you can change the instance type. How we are going to change? Go to the actions. You need to select the instance. Go to the actions, instance settings. And now you see here, this option is now highlighted. Earlier this option was not highlighted. This particular thing was not highlighted earlier. So this is getting highlighted only after stopping the instance. I just stopped this instance, and now I can able to see here my option is enabled. So I'll select this option, and here you can see current instance type is T2.nano. I would like to increase. You see here T2.nano is having only one CPU and 512 MB of RAM. And they're also mentioning how they are going to charge for 1 hour. So $0.0058 US per hour. $0.0058 US per hour for Linux machine. If it is for Windows, $0.0081 US per hour. Okay. So whenever I'm going for that instance type, it is clearly showing, whenever I'm trying to change the instance type, it is clearly showing what is the current instance type. Current instance type is T2.micro. Okay. And the T2.micro is having these attributes. It is having only one CPU currently and 512 MB of random access memory. Okay. See, whenever you talk about the instance type, the main things we need to focus is these two things, CPU as well as memory. If you want to increase the CPU as well as memory, you need to focus on the instance type. If you want to increase, you need to change the instance type. So for that, what I'm doing is, I'm going here, I'm removing this T2.nano. I'm going to make it as T2.micro. I'm going to make it as T2.micro. So when I am selecting T2.micro here, you can see the differences. If it is a T2.nano, how many CPUs I'm getting? One CPU only. For T2.micro also, I will be getting only one CPU, one core. One core is equal to 1000 millicores of CPU. You know, always CPU will be measured in terms of millicores. CPU will be measured in terms of cores actually. So one core CPU is equal to 1000 millicores. Usually to run a process or to run a program, it might require some 10 millicores, 20 millicores, 100 millicores. Some large programs, to process the large programs, it might take some 200 millicores also. So always CPU will be measured in terms of millicores or cores. So one core is equal to 1000 millicores. If I have one core of CPU, so I can process many large machines, many large programs. One core is not a small amount of CPU. With one core of CPU, I will get 1000 millicores. Usually, I can process several large programs also. So if you want to understand these things very clearly, in the upcoming discussions, you will get, okay? You don't need to worry about it. But for now, you keep in mind that one core is equal to 1000 millicores, 1000 MI. MI stands for millicores. Okay? Usually to run a program, to run a small program, based on the program, usually based on the process or program, it might take some 10 millicores, 20 millicores like that. So we have 1000 millicores. We can run some programs. Okay, we can process few programs with one core of CPU. And you see how what is the memory size that we are getting? Random access memory. With the T2.nano, I will be getting only 512 MB of RAM. And if I switch to this T2.micro, if I increase from T2.nano to T2.micro, I will be getting 1024 of random access memory. Which is higher, 512 MB or 1024? So 1024 MB is nothing but 1 GB RAM. 1024 is nothing but 1 GB RAM. Usually here it is measured in kilobytes and megabytes, right? So 1024 MB, 101 GB, gigabytes, okay, megabytes, kilobytes. Usually memory will be measured in terms of bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, like that. So if this is 512 MB RAM, this is 1024 MB RAM. 1024 MB is nothing but 1 GB. 1 GB is equal to 1024 MB. Fine. So I would like to switch from T2.nano. Current instance type is T2.nano. I'm going to migrate. I'm going to switch to T2.micro. I'm going to increase it to T2.micro. That's it. I'm just applying. You need to wait for a few seconds. You'll see the status. Instance type is changed successfully. Okay. After few seconds, I'm going to the EC2 dashboard. You see the instances running. I will go to the particular instance. You see here, the instance is already in the stopped state. We know we only stopped this instance. What is the purpose? Why we stopped this instance? Because we cannot increase the instance type. Earlier, if you observe here, earlier the instance type was T2.nano. Now the instance type is changed to T2.micro. What is the difference? T2.nano is having only 512 MB RAM. 512 MB RAM. Now T2.micro is having 1 GB RAM. Processor is same. T2.nano is having one CPU. T2.micro is also having one CPU. We'll be getting only one CPU for both of them. But there is a change in the random access memory. Here we will be getting 1 GB RAM for T2.micro. So anyhow, I changed the instance type, and now I am going to start the instance. That's it. It is very easy. So if someone asks you, you have launched an instance with one CPU and 512 MB RAM, is it possible to increase the number of CPUs and the random access memory capacity after launching the instance? The answer is yes. We can change the machine capacity. We can change the instance type. Okay. But to change the instance type, you need to stop the instance, and then you need to change the instance, and you can apply. Okay. So we already seen, right? Whenever we want to change the instance type, we stopped the instance and we have gone there and we have changed the instance type. So now it is this in the running state. The machine came to the running state. We can see here, and the instance type is also changed. This is T2.micro. Okay, this instance is T2.micro. The capacity is increased like this. Okay, if you want to increase from T2.micro to medium also, yes, you can do it. How you are going to do it? You need to select the instance. First, you need to stop it. Yes, the machine will goes into the stopped state. Once the machine gets stopped, then again you can go to the actions, go to the instance settings. This change instance type button will be highlighted. This change instance type option will be highlighted only the machine gets stopped successfully. If the machine doesn't get stopped, you will not see the option of this instance type. Okay, you need to wait for a few seconds. That we need to remember. Okay, you need to wait for a few seconds until the machine comes into the stopped state. Yes, once the machine comes into the stopped state, you can go to the actions, manage instance type. Sorry. So this is the machine which is in the stopped state. I'm going to the actions, instance settings. And you can see the change instance type option is now highlighted. And now you can change the instance type to T2.medium also. I'm going for T2.medium now. I'm going for T2.medium. What is the difference between T2.micro? Earlier it was the current instance type is T2.micro. Now we are going to increase it to T2.medium. And what is the difference? If T2.micro, with T2.micro, we will be getting only one core of CPU. With T2.medium, we'll be getting two cores of CPU, which is greater, which is higher. Two cores is higher, right? When compared to one core CPU, we have two cores of CPU. Yes, obviously this is higher configuration. And you see how they are charging. For T2.micro, it is 116 US dollars, 0.116 US dollars per hour. And for this 0.0464, okay, for a Linux machine. For this is the Linux machine. You see, Linux pricing, Windows pricing. There is a difference, right? There is a difference in the price also. And one core, two core CPU, 1024 means 1 GB RAM, 4096 means 4 GB RAM. 1024 means 1 GB RAM. 4096 means 4 GB RAM. Got it? So we have 1 GB RAM here, and here we have 4 GB RAM. I'm just going to apply. I'm just going to apply it. So once after applying, then again what you need to do is you need to bring the machine into running state. Okay. So we have already we kept the instance in the stopper state, right? So now I'm just selecting the machine. I'm going here. I'm going to start the instance. That's it. Once you start the instance, even before starting itself, you can see the difference. You can you can see your whatever the instance type you have modified, right? So just now we have modified the instance type. Earlier, sorry, any doubts? Okay. So earlier it was T2.micro. Now it is moved to T2. Now it is may change it to T2.medium. So this is what increasing the capacity of the machine. Okay, this is what scale out. Okay, this is what scale out. So we understood what is how we are going to increase, how we are going to change the instance type. So is it possible to decrease the instance type? Suppose if I am using T2.medium, is it possible to change the instance type to T2.micro as well as T2.nano? Yes, that is also possible. So if you want to increase, you can increase to the next level. If you want to decrease the instance type, you can change the instance type to the previous level also. Anything is possible. The only thing is you need to select the instance and you need to stop the instance and you need to perform your operation. That's how we will change the instance types and all. Okay, hope you got it, how we are changing the instance types. And one more thing we need to understand here. So usually few basic things we need to understand. So usually we need to understand what is vertical scaling. Okay, leave about the scale out, scale in and all. So this might lead to the confusion, but you need to understand. So far we understood how can we change the instance type and all. Just changing the instance type is a easy task. So we need to stop the instance and we will change the instance type, that we understood. But you try to understand what is this vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Scaling is nothing but either increasing or decreasing the capacity. Scaling is nothing but either increasing or decreasing. So vertical scaling, we need to understand what is vertical scaling and what is horizontal scaling. Let's take an example. I have a machine with 10 GB hard disk. Okay. I have one machine with 10 GB hard disk. And if I add some additional 10 GB into the same machine, I'm not adding another machine. I'm not going to add any another machine. I have a machine with 10 GB hard disk, and I am going to add some additional 10 GB hard disk to the same machine, which is called as vertical scaling. And the same thing is also called as scale up. Scale up. You understood, right? What is vertical scaling? Within the same machine, if I increase the capacity, that comes under vertical scaling. Then what about this horizontal scaling? If I have one machine of 10 GB hard disk, and what I am doing is I am going to add an additional machine with 10 GB hard disk. Okay, so let me give an example to understand this very clearly. So let's understand this example. Consider we have a machine. Okay, we have launched an instance in the AWS cloud or in any cloud. Okay, just now we consider we have launched an instance, and we all know this instance is having all the things like random access memory. We understood like the instance will be having random access memory. What are the other things that it will be having? Hard disk, HD stands for hard disk, CPU, all these things will be there. Okay. So we know that we have increased, we have launched an instance. We have launched an instance of T2.micro instance. We have launched an instance. We have launched an instance with instance type of T2.micro. And now I would like to change the instance type. Okay, I have a T2.micro instance type, and I'm going to change the instance type to T2.medium. I would like to change it as T2.medium. So now you tell me whether this comes under vertical scaling or horizontal scaling. I have a T2.micro instance type, and I want to increase the capacity of the machine so that I have increased it from T2.micro to T2.medium. So this is an example for vertical scaling. Why? Because within the same machine itself, I am trying to increase the capacity of the machine. Same machine, I am trying to increase the capacity. This is called vertical scaling. So what is horizontal scaling? I have a T2.micro machine, and this T2.micro machine is not at all sufficient for my requirement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more machine with having T2.micro capacity. Yes, we can do this. For my requirement, what I'm doing is I'm going to add one more machine. This machine is already I'm having already this machine with T2.micro capacity. And I feel that this machine is not at all sufficient for processing my tasks. So I'm going to add one more machine which with the same configuration called T2.micro or some other T2.medium, some else. So adding some other machine, okay, to meet my requirement, which is called as horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling. Scaling is nothing but either increasing or decreasing. How we are increasing? Are we increasing within the same machine? Or otherwise, are we going to add the additional machines? Okay, that matters. If you are adding the additional machines, this is called as horizontal scaling. If you are adding additional machines to meet your requirement, that comes under horizontal scaling. And vertical scaling is nothing but within the same machine, we are going to increase the capacity. And this vertical scaling is nothing but scale up. Horizontal scaling is nothing but scale out. Horizontal scaling is nothing but scale out. Two different terminologies. Scale up, scale out, vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Two different terminologies. That's it. Okay. Hope you understood what is vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Why? Because these things will help us to understand the concept of auto scaling. There is a concept of auto scaling. There is a service called auto scaling in the AWS cloud. So when we discuss about this auto scaling, you need to understand there we are going to increase the additional machines. Whenever we have the requirement, we are going to increase the additional machines, which is called as auto. See, by the name itself, we can understand It is an auto scaling. Auto means automatically the machines will be added. Automatically the machines will be added. Auto scaling means automatically the machines will be added. We are not going to do anything. We will just set up. So once the requirement comes, automatically the machines will get increased. Okay, we will discuss about that later. But for now, we understood the meaning of vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Simply, we can say vertical scaling means within the machine, we are going to increase the capacity. Horizontal means we are going to add additional machines to meet our requirement. That is called horizontal scaling. So now we also understood how to change the instance types. Okay, we understood how to change the instance types and all. So now let's discuss about, is it possible to increase the hard disk? See, when we talk about the instance type, yes, we know instance types are of several categories like T2.micro, T2.medium, T2.nano, T2.large. Various categories are there, and we can increase from any instance type to any instance type. That is possible. But is it possible to increase the hard disk? So for that, let me show you what we are discussing about here. Okay, now we are going to discuss about hard disk, where we can see the hard disk of this. Okay, I'm just opening this device instance ID. I'm just going into the details of this. And if you see here, when we come down, we have an option called storage. Okay, I'm just going into the details of the machine. When you slowly come down, we are having an option called storage. Just click on the storage. Once you click on the storage, you will see an option called, some option called volume. Can we able to see an option called volume here? This is, okay, are we able to see the thing called store volume here? So what is this volume? What is the capacity of this volume? How did we attach this volume? So we did not attach any volume to the machine, right? We just launched the instance and we are able to see the volume of this device. Volume, we are able to see the volume for this machine. How this volume is attached to this device? See, I already told you, whenever we are launching an instance, so one root volume will be by defaultly attached. Root volume will be by default attached. One volume will be defaultly attached. So if you want to know that, let me show you. I'm going to the EC2 dashboard. I'm going to the instances running. Launch an instance. Whenever you launch an instance, you will see the storage option. Whenever you launch an instance, so this is an operating system. We know this is an instance type. Okay, this is an operating system. This is an instance type, and you know the purpose of key pair. Key pair is mainly for connecting to the instance securely. And network settings we will discuss. This is the storage. This is the storage. If you remember, whenever we launch the instance, there is an option called storage. And at that storage, we did not selected anything. We have gone through the default option. What is the default thing here? 8 GB. Okay, 8 GB. And you can see this one. It is showing like a root volume. You need to understand what is the meaning of root volume. So whenever a volume is being attached during the launch of an instance, that volume is called as root volume. Okay, this volume is called as a root volume. So this is not the volume which is being attached by us. Whenever you launch an instance, you have to definitely choose this option. Even if you do not choose it, by default, some storage will come. So that storage is called as root volume. Okay, and now similarly, we have already an instance, right? We have already an instance running. If you want to see the capacity, the storage capacity of this machine, you need to just click on the device. You need to just click on the instance. Slowly come down. You will see an option called storage. Go to the storage. Under the storage, you will see you have one volume. You have one volume. There is a volume ID and volume size. Volume is nothing but storage. Volume is nothing but storage. We have an 8 GB storage. And the status is what? This is an attached. This is attached. This volume is attached. This is attached to a machine. This is attached to a machine. The status, how we are saying that this volume is attached. We can see the status here. This volume is attached. And this volume is root volume. Where we are saying this volume is root volume. This is a root device. And what is the type of this volume? This is a EBS volume. See, whenever we see in the AWS cloud, whenever we see the terminology called EBS, that is nothing but storage. EBS is nothing but storage. Do you know the full form of EBS? EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. Elastic Block Storage, which deals about the storage volumes. EBS is one of the services in the AWS cloud, which deals about the storage volumes. So I would like to tell one thing here. Whenever you launch an instance, one default volume will get attached to the instance. By default, one volume will get attached to the instance. And the name of the instance is called root volume. Name of the instance is called root volume. Okay. So now my doubt is, can we increase? What is the capacity of this root volume here? When I'm just clicking on this device, I can see only the size of this root volume is 8 GB. Is it possible to increase the capacity of this one? Is it possible to increase the capacity of this volume? Let's try. So to do that, we will go to an option called volumes here. Go to the EC2 dashboard. We have an option called volumes. Whenever you go to the EC2 dashboard, you see some resources here. You have some resource called volume. Just click on the resource called volume. And this is the volume that is already there, which is already attached to our machine, which is running. And now you know the size of the capacity of this volume is 8 GB only. Now I want to increase the capacity of this volume. Is it possible? Yes, let me try. I'm selecting the volume, going to the actions button. I'm selecting modify volume. Modify. I would just need to modify the volume, okay? And now currently it is 8 GB volume. I would like to increase from 8 GB to 10 GB. Okay, let's discuss about this. What is IO, PS, throughput, all these things. Okay, we don't need to focus on them for now. Let's understand the main areas. So I am just increasing the 8 GB to 10 GB. Earlier it was 8 GB volume. I am increasing from 8 GB to 10 GB. I am coming down. I'm coming down. I am just modifying. I'm just clicking on modify. That's it. I have modified the volume. Let's wait for a few minutes. Let's wait for a few seconds. Why? Because you see the status here. The volume is being modified. Let's refresh and see whether it is modified or not. Yes. Earlier, the size of the volume is 10 GB, but now we are able to see the size of the volume as earlier it was 8 GB only. Now we could able to see the volume size as 10 GB. So it is possible to modify the volume size. It is possible to modify the volume size. And whenever you deal with the volumes, try to understand what is a root volume and all. So this is a root volume. Why it is called as a root volume? This volume, I got this volume whenever I got this volume defaultly by launching the instance. So this is the volume I got at the time of launching an instance. So this volume is called as a root volume. Okay. This volume is called as the root volume. Why I am particularly talking about root volume? You can add additional volumes also. After launching the instance, you can add some additional volumes also. That's the reason why specifically I'm talking about the root volume. Root volume is the volume which comes along with the instance. Root volume is the volume which comes along with the instance, or whenever you launch the instance, root volume will get attached to the instance. And we will select that option during the launch of the instance. Okay, fine. Now we increased the capacity to 10 GB. Is it possible to decrease the capacity of the volume? Let's try. So now we increase the capacity of the volume. We also need to verify. We also need to verify whether we can able to decrease the volume capacity or not. Yes, let's try that. I am selecting the volume. I am going to the actions. Let me refresh it. Why I am refreshing, I could not able to see the modify volume option. Volumes, just click on volumes. Second, so there is some issue. Let me log out. Maybe not sure whether the issue is from my side or in. Okay. So what I'm doing is like I'm just signing into the console once again. Let's try that. Yes. So now I'm going to the EC2 dashboard. So here on the EC2 dashboard, you will see a resource called volume. Just click on the volumes. And you can see the volume capacity. Now the volume capacity is 10 GB. Now our aim is to reduce the volume size. Select the volume, go to the actions. I'm not getting this modify volume. Yes. So why I'm not getting modify volume option is because, so still the volume state is, okay, still the volume state. Maybe I need to wait for some time. Okay. Maybe I need to wait for some time. Why? Because just now we have increased the capacity of the volume, right? So immediately I think we may not increase or decrease. So now you see here, when I'm refreshing, I'm selecting this volume, go to the actions. I'm able to see the modify volume option. Just click on modify volume. Now earlier it was 8 GB. I increase it to 10 GB. Now I would like to see whether we can reduce the volume or not. Yes, let's see. I would like to make it as 5. I would like to make it as 5. You see here, when I'm trying to make it as 5, you can easily, you are able to see some notification here. The volume of the size of a volume can only be increased, but not decreased. See, once you increase the size of the volume, that cannot be decreased. Suppose in the beginning itself, if you want some 5 GB, yes, you can launch the volume with 5 GB. You can create a volume with 5 GB. But once the volume is increased to 10 GB, it is not at all possible to decrease the volume capacity to some 5 GB or to some extent. Not at all possible to decrease the volumes. We should keep in mind, the size of the volumes can be increased. The size of the volumes can only be increased, not decreased. So that's the reason why there is no option of decreasing the volumes once increasing its capacity. Okay. So that one thing we need to understand. We can increase the volumes. We can increase the volume capacity, but we cannot decrease the volume capacity. That is one thing. And along with this, you can also attach additional volume. Suppose you have a root volume. Why I'm calling this as root volume? Because this volume came along with the instance. This volume is attached to the instance, okay, during its launch. So that's why I'm calling this as a root volume. And if you want some additional volumes also, we can attach. So how to create an additional volume? You can go here, you can go and select an option called create volume, and you can select, you see here we have some options here. So in the volumes also we have different categories. Usually we have general purpose SSD, IOPS, provisioned IOPS, okay, throughput optimized, magnetic standard. There are different volumes. So let's discuss about these volumes also later. So based on the requirement, we will go through the volumes. We will discuss about that. What is the difference between general purpose SSD and what is the difference between provisioned IOPS? All those things we'll discuss about them later. But you see here, usually we will go with the general purpose SSD volumes. If you want to create an additional volume, how we are creating an additional volume? You see here, volume type, by default, it will be like general purpose SSD, and you can select the size here. What is the size? If you want some 5 GB volume, yes, you can. So until what extent we can create a volume, you see here, minimum is 1 GB. Minimum is 1 GB. You can create a volume with minimum size of 1 GB, and you can create a volume with maximum size of 16,384. 16384 GB. Okay. You can create a maximum capacity of 16384 GB. You can start with 1 GB. If you want only 1 GB volume, yes, you can go ahead. I'm just creating a 5 GB volume. This is an additional volume I'm creating. I'm just coming down. So you need to understand one important thing here. So we will focus later on what is this IOPS, all those things, throughput and all. So that is related to the volumes. So whenever you are creating a volume, you need to select the size of the volume, and at the same time, you need to see in which availability zone you are creating this volume. These two things you need to focus on. You need to focus mainly on these two things whenever you are creating a volume. So whenever you create a volume, you need to focus mainly on what is the size you require. Why? Because even if you take some larger capacity, if you take some larger volume, it is not possible to decrease the volume capacity. That we have seen. Okay. So volume capacity can be increased, but we cannot decrease the volume capacity. That's the reason why in the beginning itself, how much capacity we require, how much volume we require, we will choose that as a size, and we will keep on creating it. So then you see here the other important thing is you need to look after in which availability zone you are creating. What is this availability zone? Very, very important thing you need to understand. What is this availability zone? So in the beginning itself, I was telling you, like in the AWS cloud, okay, in the AWS cloud, we have regions. Consider this is an AWS cloud, and in the AWS cloud, we have a region called Mumbai, and we have a region called North Virginia, and we have a region called US West or US East. Like this, I told you, like we have more than 25 geographical regions. A region is nothing but the place where Amazon is investing, for the infrastructure. So Amazon infrastructure is there in the Mumbai region. Okay. What do you mean by region? In Mumbai, they have a data center. Okay. The regions are also nothing but data centers. In Mumbai, AWS is having one data center. In US East or US West, consider some region. Okay. In US East, they have one data center. In US West, they have one data center. What do you mean by data center here? See, I'm talking about the region. I'm talking about the data center. Both are same or both are different. We need to understand. Both are same only. Region or data center, both are same only. Meaning they have Amazon is investing or Amazon is maintaining its infrastructure in Mumbai region. Amazon is having their infrastructure in US East. Amazon is also having its infrastructure in US West. They are maintaining in different regions. Okay. And again, in one particular region, we have availability zones. What is this availability zone? Let's understand. In Mumbai, let's understand we have some 3 different availability zones. In Mumbai, consider we have some 3 different availability zones. Okay. And how to identify these availability zones? Let's see here. I'm going to the AWS account. You can see here. These are the data centers. When I'm just trying to open these regions here, regions are nothing but data center. We have US East 1, US East 2, US West 1, US West 2, like that. There are many data centers. And you know, in India, we have a data center called AP South 1, which is in Mumbai. In Mumbai, we have one data center. The code, the region code is AP-South-1. The region code is AP-South-1. Again, in this region, we have some availability zones. Under region, we have some availability zones. Within the region, we have availability zone. Okay. I'm just keeping this as availability zone 1. And the second one, this is availability zone 2. And this is availability zone 3. What is this availability zone again? I will tell you. So if Mumbai is the region, in Mumbai, we have the infrastructure of the AWS. They are maintaining the infrastructure of AWS, Amazon Cloud, Amazon. So within the Mumbai also, we have different buildings. Consider this as one building, which is a different place in Mumbai only. In Mumbai only, we have 3 buildings. Building 1, building 2, building 3. Building 1 is some far away. Building 1 is at some different location. Building 2 is at some different location. Building 3 is at some different location. All 3 are not at same place. But all the 3 are present in the Mumbai only. All 3 are present at Mumbai only. Just assume we have infrastructure, AWS infrastructure in the Mumbai region. And they are not maintaining the entire infrastructure at the same place. They are maintaining infrastructure in the different buildings, different places. So the building 1, which is at some different place, we are calling it as availability zone 1. The building 2, which is at some different place, we are calling it as availability zone 2. And which is again, the availability zone 3 is again at some different place. So we are having different places where we are maintaining different infrastructures, where Amazon is maintaining different, having different places to maintain the infrastructure. We are calling them as availability zones. Okay. And now you see, we have launched an instance, right? We have launched an instance. Where did we launch it? Where did we launch this instance? You see, in which availability zone it is? If I go through the instance, when I come down, and you will see some details about this particular machine here in networking. You need to see the networking option. Okay. We did not talk about the networking option so far. We will go through that. But meanwhile, you see what type of machine, in which region we have launched this instance. Anyhow, we know the region. We have launched this instance in North Virginia. By looking at here, we can understand this in this particular region, we have launched this instance. And in which availability zone? What is the region code of North Virginia? You see, US East 1. The region code is US East 1. Under US East 1, you have already some availability zones called as US East 1A, US East 1B, US East 1C. Like that, some availability zones will be there. Under which availability zone is our machine created? Our machine is created under US East 1A. Our machine is created under US East 1A. I did not select this option. By default, it has taken. If we want to select, we can do that. We will discuss about this when we discuss about the networking option. When we discuss about the networking concept, we will discuss about all these things. how we will choose the availability zone, all those things. Okay. So like that, whenever you create a volume, you need to focus on, whenever you create a volume, we can create additional volumes also. How to create additional volume? Just click on create volume. You need to give here the capacity. The size of the volume is 5 GB I'm creating, and I would like to create the availability zone. You need to create the volume in the same availability zone where your machine is created. See why I'm creating this volume? I want to attach this volume. I want to attach this volume to my instance. So if I want to attach this volume to my instance, I need to make sure both are present in the same availability zone. Otherwise, I cannot attach. Okay, if my machine is in some availability zone, and if my volume is in the some availability zone, I cannot attach this volume to the machine which is present in different availability zone. Okay, let's talk about this later. Let's discuss about this later. How we are creating additional volumes and how we are going to attach these additional volumes to our machines. All those things we will discuss in the next session. So for today, if you have any doubts, let's discuss. Otherwise, we will close this for today. Thank you all. Please go through the recorded session. We'll send you the recorded session. We'll share you the recorded session in the chat. Please go through that. Okay. And hope if you have any doubts, you'll get clarified. Okay? Thank you all. Let's meet for the next session. Okay. Thank you.